My name is Mack Jenkins, and I am a retired Chief Probation Officer, and worked for more than 40 years in the criminal justice system in the state of California. And in retirement, I now work as a consultant both in collaborative treatment courts and also in community corrections. So in terms of working in collaborative treatment courts, that includes veteran treatment courts. I have been involved in collaborative treatment courts since 1995. So I was involved in basically starting the drug court programs that began in Orange County, California. And my involvement with collaborative treatment courts then also paralleled, if you will, the development, frankly, the expansion of collaborative treatment courts in the country. I will tell you from my own experience with treatment courts generally and veteran courts specifically, yes, I think they are very good. At this point, when we're in 2021, so now collaborative treatment courts, which started in 1989, there is a lot of research now that shows that veteran treatment courts and the principles and practices that they employ are now research proven, as it were. So we like to say, when I say we, treatment court practitioners, like to point out that collaborative treatment courts are the most studied and most well-researched criminal justice intervention. So there's a lot of research, science, if you will, that shows that the collaborative treatment approach works. When we started collaborative treatment courts in Orange County, California, that role itself was not well defined. The role of probation itself, probation has been involved in the American criminal justice system since 1840. So it has a long history in the American criminal justice system, and probation is an arm of the court. So then when the concept and the innovation of collaborative treatment courts came about, and we were asked in Orange County to be a part of that effort, one of the first questions was, well, what will be our role? And the answer to that has certainly become, it will be the traditional role that probation plays in the criminal justice system, but perhaps in an expanded capacity. And what I mean by that is probation officers outside of a treatment court world, they own their caseload. It's my caseload. I'm going to make the decisions. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But when you come into a collaborative court team, you have to share that caseload. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the adjustments that probation generally and probation officers specifically have to make in a collaborative treatment court. But an important part of that is the probation role in a collaborative treatment court has to move beyond a trail 'em, nail 'em, jail them role. And I point that out because many people outside of the community corrections field and the probation field specifically see probation as a trail them, nail them, jail them role, when that's not probation at all, actually. Those that know the history of probation in this country know that it actually started with a social work focus. And so what I teach and what we practice is actually called the balanced approach model of probation, which balances an enforcement responsibility with a social work responsibility. That is ideal for collaborative treatment courts, and it is also ideal for veterans treatment court for the probation role. So your question is about what's the message to probation officers who maybe have had a focus of, I'm going to catch them doing something wrong, and why they should be involved in a veterans treatment court effort. That's a really, really good question, and I hope I do justice on this answer. So, as I told you before, I was involved in setting up the drug courts in Orange County way back when they were just really relatively new in the country. And so part of my role at the time was I wasn't the in-court probation officer, but I was the manager. So I got to pick the probation officers to start these drug treatment courts. And I will tell you, nobody raised their hand. they got a call from me and said, by the way, you got a new assignment. And to a person, the first few selections were not my friends. I was not high on their Christmas list. They did not like the assignment. But also to a person, after a period of time on those programs, they came to me independently and said, thank you for this assignment. Because what happened, and this is consistent with my experience in terms of people that become probation officers, and I've hired a lot of probation officers, I've done probation work, that's my career. All of them say that they have come to probation work to help people. I've not hired a probation officer who came to me and said, man, you know what I want to do is lock some people up. Man, I can't wait till I can lock some people up. That's not what happens. What happens is they come into the field because they think it's an opportunity to help somebody. But what has also happened with a lot of probation officers is they become, when they don't see success, because outside of, in traditional criminal justice, you see a lot of failure. You also you do see some successes, but you don't really know what your role has been in that. So the officers that I placed in these immediate drug court programs actually saw success. And some of them were incredulous at it. I remember one officer told me, wow, I never thought this guy was going to make it. But you know what? I'm a hardcore meth addict. And 18 months later, is showing some sobriety, got a job, maintaining a job, graduating. So all of that to say, what I say to officers now is it is an opportunity to do what you say you want to do. You want to be in a position to help somebody and work with others, and you can actually see that success. But what inspires me is recognizing a population that has served the country in a military role, and that for whatever reason has gotten involved in the criminal justice system, and them being given an opportunity. I guess redemption is the word that fits, although I don't want to be overly dramatic around it. But a criminal justice population with military experience where you can kind of still take advantage of the commitment they've made to the country, the sacrifices that they've made to the country, and use that, if you will, as I said earlier, in an approach in a criminal justice solution, is the way that I want to describe it. And that's inspiring. But when you see someone that's had military service, and sometimes have had extensive military service, and I won't say to the exclusion of those that haven't necessarily had combat experience, but those folks that have risked their lives in an environment for this country, that's profound unto itself. Some folks that have raised their hand and said, yes, I will go and die for you. And then they come back to a country, and for whatever reason, they have some hiccups. And then now you're in a position to kind of help them after those hiccups. How can you not be inspired by that? How can you not be inspired by the opportunity to help and then see them succeed? That is inspiring. Well, you ask, are there any individuals that come to mind? And candidly, I've seen so many, I've been to so many different graduations. There are a lot that pop in my head. And what I will tell you that stands with me, in particular response to that question, is not as much the individual graduate that I heard speaking, but it was his parents. Because especially working with Judge Lindley, we've talked about Judge Lindley before, she would frequently at the graduations invite the parents to have something to say. And there was this one family that both mother and father were there at the graduation, and the participants spoke eloquently and passionately about what he'd done. But then when the mother came up to speak, and she was emotional as you might expect, and what she said was, I gave birth to him, but you gave him life. And it was powerful. And she was passionate about it. And she was that happy, that gratified. A mother's happy to see her son been given a new chance to succeed. That stuck with me.